This is the David Webb Show.
866-95-PATRIOT, 957-2874. National security is the focus. Todd Starnes will join us in the next hour. His phone went dead. Sometimes, that's why I carry one of those rechargers. I won't endorse one of them on the air, but that way I can recharge my phone, and possibly he does, and it went dead. However, he'll join us in the second hour. The top story, the headline story on Drudge Report is Todd's story that medical staff have been warned to keep their mouths shut about illegal aliens and their health problems, as well as the fact that they are taking away cell phones, other communication devices from them as they're treating these kids who are in centers. The camp, according to someone, has measles, scabies, chickenpox, strep throat, as well as mental and emotional issues. So, the truth must be told. Let's not panic, but let's have the truth out there. Kerry Pickett joins me now. Immigration is heating up. The president's statements yesterday, the president stating that he will ignore Congress and institute the imperial power he believes he has of the pen. Kerry Pickett from Breitbart News and Matthew Leber, spokesman for the American Patriots, the 3%. Kerry, how are you?
Fine. How are you, David?
I'm busy, and I'll tell you, this is there's so much to cover, Kerry. I need a 6-hour show, but I don't think anybody wants that, least of all me. Not in one night.
Yes, slow news week, wouldn't you say?
Really, if Americans pay attention, Kerry, the immigration issue, the Iraq problem, Japan making its announcement that it is constitutionally going to it's going to renounce non-war making powers. The world's starting to change.
Indeed. And what's absolutely fascinating now is that the American people at this point seem to be getting it at all kinds of fronts, whether it is the domestic front as far as immigration is concerned, healthcare policy, and at this point, it seems like we're also getting it sort of a mixture on the immigration and the national security policy as well. So, people are really beginning to realize what the Cloward-Piven strategy really is, even if they don't even know the name of it exactly.
Well, they may not know it, but, at some point they've got to wake up. When you talk about the border, Kerry, the fact that La Raza, an organization initially founded on the principle that I believe is, as they put it, the Mephistos, that they are superior to whites, to blacks, to everyone, a basically racist organization is in collusion with this administration, with the open border crowd, to create and exacerbate a crisis. It's time people woke up. Call it what they want. The crisis is real.
Absolutely. I spoke with Congressman John Carter. He's the chairman of the Homeland Security Subcommittee on Appropriations last week. And he had told me that he heard that La Raza is actually encouraging illegal immigrants from Central America. And mind you, La Raza has about 3 offices in a number of these Central American countries to come up to the United States. Now, I spoke with through email to La Raza's spokesman, and they have denied this completely. I didn't expect anything else. However, remember, La Raza is considered to be a NGO, which is essentially an organization that is able to do work through the U.S. government to
being given status by the United Nations as a non-governmental organization or some equivalent to work with the U.S. doesn't change the basis of what this organization is. I have been dealing with La Raza since the early 90s. I have been attacked personally by La Raza's leadership for highlighting problems with that organization. And let's not kid ourselves. You can cloak yourself in whatever, garb you want, but they are part of the problem, just like a bunch of hipster yippies who want to walk around and wear their Che Guevara shirts while not understanding what he was about. So we have to deal in the truth here.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing here is that even though they can go around and they can deny that they're not encouraging this huge flood of illegal immigrants, particularly unaccompanied minors, to come over the border, one of the things that we're going to learn from Matthew is that these unaccompanied minors are not usually coming over the border just on their own accord. Yeah, their parents.
Yeah, 5-year-olds are not swimming the Rio Grande, folks.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
come on. And by the way, the left wants to conflate this and, oh, you hate the little children. Let me tell you something. Children are innocent at that age. They have no control. They are being made to do something, and they are being used as pawns, whether it's by cartels, this administration, La Raza, and any other Soros-type open border crowd that wants to create a situation so dire that when the president takes out his imperial pen and phone and issues an order, people may well turn around, along with John Boehner and the others in Congress who are weak-kneed on this, and say, well, it's so bad, we've got to do something, and I guess that's a start.
Absolutely. And then what was the first reaction of these Latino groups? Oh, well, that means you guys are a bunch of bigots. You guys don't think that these individuals need help, and they're coming from countries that are full of guerrillas, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's just get down into the weeds here, Kerry. Really, let's get down into the weeds. This is literally what an official at Lackland Air Force Base told Henry Cuellar, a Democrat congressman, that among the wave of illegal immigrants flooding the Texas border from Central America, 1/3 of young girls that come across, and they were just 10, 11, and 14 years old, are getting raped and or abused on the way. So to my open border friends out there, and let's bring Matthew Leber in on this, we are dealing with a problem that has nothing to do with objecting to illegal immigration, but a real tragedy. Little girls being raped and abused just because they have been lured to the border or forced to the border or sent through in some way. So how about Congresswoman Pelosi and President Obama and Henry Cuellar and all the other bleeding heart open borders types? What do they say about what their actions have wrought, the cause and the effect?
Right. Well, David, you began the segment talking about Americans need to wake up, and that's really what our organization is about, the American Patriots, the 3%. We the people. I mean, we're not an extremist type of group. We're not militia folks. We are just highly motivated, and we've gone to the border to try to highlight the situation, to try to put a spotlight on what's really happening, because a lot of journalists won't actually go there. A lot of media types aren't really reporting on what's happening. We do have minors that are crossing the border, but the prevailing thought and prevailing evidence is that their parents are waiting on the other side of the river, and they're getting the kids across with the smugglers and the coyotes, and then getting some sort of permissio paperwork that they believe is a permission to stay, and then the parents are joining them, and they're spreading out throughout the many states.
Look, I'll give you one place to send your folks, and my other guest with Kerry Pickett is Matthew Leber. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Leber,
Matthew?
yes, sir.
Leber, spokesman for the American Patriots and the 3%, and I have seen this since 1999. That you can go to the Mexican consulate in Dallas off I-35 and watch a line around the block every morning. Then you can drive over to Parkland Hospital in Dallas, known for literally being the baby birthing center of the universe in America, more babies born in Parkland, and an increasing number, I think it's somewhere around 40-something%, are illegal alien births. So let's you know what, tonight I'm in one of these moods to not that I'm not on most nights, as Kerry knows, but to cut the crap and call these things what they are. This is not xenophobia. This is not anti-Hispanic. This is a crisis being exacerbated by a number of actors and not being highlighted by the so-called existing media. And I include everyone, right or left, on not working hard enough to get the truth out. We're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-old girls being raped. We're talking about women being shipped from the border to Queens, New York to go into prostitution. Fact. We're talking about other forms of drug activity. We're talking about other than Mexicans. We're talking about Ukrainian men. They were meeting someone. And by the way, your point about
Muslim.
children coming across and meeting other parents, well, they put them on a bus. They ship them to other relatives with the hope that they'll come back. And even the Democrats that are standing up are saying they don't go back for the hearing. So how about we cut the crap out there in America about the fact that this has anything to do with anti-Hispanic fervor?
And what most Americans don't understand is that the southern border of Mexico is highly regulated. These folks were allowed over that border. This whole thing was orchestrated by this administration to tug at the heartstrings of Americans to try to push their immigration so-called reform. And so, this whole thing is, the puppet masters in charge of the whole orchestrated mission here. And what our guys are doing, what they're able to do, is to see firsthand what's going on. They witnessed, the helicopter crossing the Arizona border, firing at Border Patrol troops. They witnessed the other individuals, Muslim groups that are coming across with Iraqi dinar sewed into their clothing. They witnessed the cartel on the other side of the border with 50 caliber machine guns firing at Border Patrol and other ranchers. And a lot of this is hushed up because the Obama administration, all they want you to hear and feel is that there are children that need our help. That's what they want the picture to be. That's what they want the narrative to be. But the real narrative is that South Texas is no longer America. It is Afghanistan plopped down literally on our country, because a lot of the players that are in Afghanistan, that were in Afghanistan, are now in South Texas. Muslim groups are forming there, have bought swaths of land, and they are training. They have 24/7 guard situations, and they're protected under our First Amendment rights of freedom of religion. And our administration gladly gives them that, all the while knowing that these guys are planning for an opportunity to have jihad in America.
Why aren't we taking practical steps when it comes to dealing with terrorists? For instance, and let me cite a recent arrest here in New York City just a few days ago, when Mayor Bill de Blasio, the communist in charge, decided to stand up and make his pronouncements about this massive arrest of this drug Khat, K-H-A-T. Well, they mentioned just in a side note in the story that the drug was being stored at an Islamic community center.
Right.
Think about that for a moment. Islamic community center. They use drugs. They use illegal methods, just like they use the opium, to fund their radical activities. And we are sitting here hippy, skippy, yippee in a log, Kerry Pickett, that nothing's going wrong. And it's only a bunch of old white men, xenophobes who hate brown people. America, wake the hell up.
Absolutely, David. And think about this. Around 2010, they ended up finding out that around 300 Somalis were smuggled in through Texas by a Somali man, and a number of them ended up having ties to Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked group. They have never been accounted for. They are somewhere in the United States.
Well, the president just said we can't even account for those with American passports that are in Syria. Hey, folks, they're coming back.
Well, one aspect, David, that's really not well known is that the cartel and the Muslim groups are battling it out fiercely in South America for the drug trade. The Muslim groups, these fanatics, would love to have a toehold into the drug trade so that they can then finance terrorism all over the world.
They've already got it, Matthew.
Yeah.
They've already had this. When I first did a big report on this going back to 2006, okay, I did a 3-hour special on this. We identified the drug trafficking, the drug trade. You go back to the 80s, $100 million from the Saudi royal family to get rid of their Wahhabist problem and export it to the United States. The Wahhabists who are now possibly going to join the caliphate seeking ISIS or ISIL, pick your name, in the Middle East, and they used drugs. They used any kind of illegal activity, and there's a lawless triangle right now south of the border where they are doing this openly with a count of somewhere north of 60,000 Muslims.
Right.
They're working with the cartels. This isn't going to happen. It's happening.
Yes, it's real, and and most people don't realize that. All the Obama administration wants you to see is children in need, but that's why we financed our team. That's why we have sent guys down there to actually, well-trained former special ops guys that they're not militia types. They're highly trained and very level-headed to document the situation, to interview ranchers on the ground, to work for ranchers on the ground in security operations, and to actually get the real world out. And that's what American Patriots 3% is about, is affecting real change and pointing the finger at power and speaking truth to power. And you can't be in the shadows and have your finger in the face of a tyrant. So we have to do this and inform Americans and wake them up.
One of the smart things I like about what you're doing here, because it gains so much negative attention in spite of the good intentions, is to not have militiamen, but to have well-trained people down on the border. That is a key part of this. Kerry Pickett brought Matthew to the show. He's a spokesman for the American Patriots, the 3%. Again, these are professionals. These are not, and I have nothing against citizen action, but there's a point at which you need just that next level. So kudos to you. Kerry, wrap this up for me.
Well, I'd like to point out just a little piggyback here that Matthew's group, as he's pointing out here, they essentially do a funding for this group of American independent security contractors who he mentions are former special ops. And so what they do is, do very highly sort of, very careful sort of, outlook out there to find out what's going on, because the news media really isn't getting out there because, of course, it's very dangerous.
And that's a good point.
They're well fed and that they are well supplied. So very often they get their funds through private donations via Matthew.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll put it out on Twitter. We'll put it out on Facebook. Go ahead, Matthew.
One last thing about the team. These guys were in Afghanistan, Iraq, all the way back to Bosnia. These guys are highly trained. But, when they're on the border, they can't call in air support. They can't call in artillery fire to help them. They have to be very tactical and very smart at what they do. And they are professionals, and they are documenting this so that it gets out to we the people of America, so that we really get an idea of what the truth is down there, not what this administration just wants to paint and give you, in the media and the mass media protecting him.
All right.
So the mission is so important.
The mantra of this show is truth is the authority, and that is where we stand. These issues are complex. Matthew, thank you very much. Matthew,
look on Facebook for our group, the American Patriots of 3%. Look on Facebook. We have our donation link there. I can provide it.
All right.
If you like.
We'll make sure it's up there. It's already up on our Twitter. I'll put it up on my Facebook. Kerry Pickett, Breitbart News. Thank you, Kerry.
Take care.
All right. Immigration continues next hour, and this is not a left or right issue. Cynthia Kendall is the president of Oregonians for Immigration Reform. She'll join us next. They have a special, these are all big issues. They have an issue going on in Oregon. They're trying to get the word out about dealing with the problem, and we'll help them do that next and discuss the issues. More to come, and Todd Starnes next hour also on his top story of doctors, medical staff being warned their phones being taken away when they go to the bases to treat the children that are coming across the border illegally.
Is that it?
Yes, it's over. How'd you like it?
I don't know. I slept through the whole thing.
Well, you didn't miss much.